It's time that Mayor Bowser gets aggressive in keeping safety here on this campus and the surrounding perimeter.
A few moments later.
I don't know what class this is, but they all get A's. America's favorite theater patron and congressional stumblebum, Lauren Boebert, decided to go to college. And no, she's not bettering herself. She just wanted to score political points during the ongoing upheaval at GW, and they were ready.
There's a bunch of congressmen coming through here. Gonna stop us from being out here? No! Are any of you afraid? No! Are we tired? No! Are we leaving? No!
But being a professional you are, Bobo, you can handle a little pushback. I mean, you are still in Congress, despite the objection of everybody with language comprehension skills.
It's time that Mayor Bowser gets aggressive in keeping safety here on this campus and the surrounding perimeter. This is something that must be addressed, and at this time, there has been... We bless Israel! We bless Israel! Those who bless Israel shall be blessed! We stand with Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East. That is who we stand for and who we are defending. And these folks who are shouting, "Free Palestine." Well, let's see. I've seen signs here today. If you want to hear, I have seen signs here today that say queer and trans folks for liberated Palestine, gays for Gaza, from the river to sea, Palestine will be free, lesbians for Palestine, Chinese for Palestine, followed by all cops are bastards. Well, this is not only disgusting. Not only is this disgusting, but let me be clear. Not only is this disgusting, but let me be very clear. Almost every single person in this so-called liberated zone would be eviscerated by the very terrorists you are standing here supporting. We stand with Israel. We stand for peace in Washington, D.C., and the mayor must step up and do something to clear this. This is not the summer of love, and we are not bowing a knee to the terrorists who cause the riots and chaoses in our cities anymore. And if the faculty here, who many are involved in this right now, I had people proudly saying that they are faculty and not wanting to remove a Palestinian sign from the George Washington statue. If they don't want to do something to address this, well then kiss your federal funding goodbye.
All right, guys, there's a really big difference between Palestine and what you guys are seeing behind us. We know for a fact that there are professional organized protesters that are not students who are currently inciting what you're seeing happening at this community right now. There's also a big difference.
Yes, it is very important to keep safety here on campus. The irony of the Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers t-shirt honoring one of the great wordsmiths of our time alongside somebody struggling with basic Websters.
This is something that must be addressed, and at this time, there has been... We bless Israel! We bless Israel! Those who bless Israel shall be blessed!
Haven't I heard that before?
It was a covenant that God made with Abraham. And that covenant was real clear. If you bless Israel, I will bless you. If you curse Israel, I will curse you. And then in the New Testament, it was confirmed that all nations would be blessed through you.
We stand with Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East. That is who we stand for and who we are defending.
Yes, the biblical approach to legislation and foreign relations. And to that I say, Lauren Boebert, what time will you be stoned?
We stand with Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East. That is who we stand for and who we are defending.
Now, granted, I've just established she doesn't have the greatest grasp on the language. But it is ironic. She said Israel is who we stand with. That is who we stand for. And I actually think of that as a bit of a Freudian slip. That is exactly who we stand for, not for freedom or for peace or for goodwill or for democracy. We stand for Israel.
And these folks who are shouting Free Palestine. Well, let's see. I've seen signs here today. If you want to hear.
I don't think they want to hear.
I have seen signs here today that say queer and trans folks for liberated Palestine.
Okay.
Gays for Gaza.
Okay.
Lesbians for Palestine.
Okay.
Chinese for Palestine.
Oh, no, not the Chinese. Not the Chinese. I thought it would be a cold day before I saw Chinese for Okay.
Followed by all cops are bastards.
Well, to be honest, those appear at every rally and protest. I mean, I saw a ACAB sign at a protest to change the team's name back to Washington Football Team.
Well, this is not only disgusting.
I don't know why she thought that was so funny. I told you were going to need this bullhorn. I told you before we left you were going to need this bullhorn. You were like, no, I'm Lauren Boebert. They want to listen to me. I know you're Lauren Boebert. That's why I think you're going to need this bullhorn.
Not only is this disgusting, but let me be clear. Not only is this disgusting.
Then why you gotta go and ruin everything? We could have had perfectly good video of her talking into the megaphone that was turned off. Why can't we have nice things?
But let me be very clear. Almost every single person in this so-called liberated zone would be eviscerated by the very terrorists you are standing here supporting.
Okay, now I'm gonna try and catch the logic for that one. So your logic is because they wouldn't accept you, therefore there's no need for you to stand up for them being persecuted because you are also persecuted and they would have been one of the people that would persecute you, so you should let their persecution go because of your persecution. That's pretty pro-persecution, if you ask me. That's extremely pro-persecution.
We stand with Israel. We stand for peace in Washington, D.C. And the mayor must step up and do something to clear this. This is not the summer of love.
Well, see, that was confusing. I would love a return to the summer of love, quite frankly. I don't know why she brought that up. I mean, the summer of love sounds like the most fun time people ever had in the history of human existence. Maybe going back to the Roaring 20s. I bet the Roaring 20s, the Roaring 20s and the summer of love is like 1 and 2 for times I would want to be like 25. Like that sounds amazing.
And if the faculty here, who many are involved in this right now, I had people proudly saying that they are faculty and not wanting to remove a Palestinian sign from the George Washington statue.
I would like to amend my earlier statement. I would not have enjoyed the Roaring 20s. No, that is one of the sad facts of being black in America. They always like, oh, when would you want to be alive? And the earliest we could say is like 1993.
If they don't want to do something to address this, well then kiss your federal funding goodbye.
Well, that is not going to look good, but you know what will? If you do something physical, you know what I mean? Get some good video just defying the students. You know what? Go for the flag.
We're blocking everyone else from blocking it, sir.
We've all been there before. You know when you tell somebody off and try and leave and then the elevator takes forever? You just know she was ready to get that good video, symbolically removing the flag. I know you're used to doing whatever you want, whenever you want, but sometimes, Bobo, no means no.
Excuse me, that's excuse me. This is private property. This is America, and that shit needs to come down. This is private property.
Now this one was a bit confusing to me. On private property, So if it's private property, is it your private property? Because you arguing that it's private property, how does that help your jurisdiction over what happens to the private property? You just feel like any private property is yours. You just feel like you get to say whatever happens to any private property. And yes, I know private is your particular jurisdiction.
Are you a student here?
I'm on faculty here.
Then climb up there and get that down. Wait, the flag is personal property. The statue is not. Get it down.
It's personal property.
I'll stay here.
The conversation with the faculty member was hilarious too, because he clearly wasn't with the shits at all, was not at all with the shits, and clearly has more reason to be there and more say in what happens than she does, and he ain't having it. But the fact that you still demanded that he remove the flag, so you just think all the faculty is just maintenance? Is that what you think happens at the school? Just all faculty is just maintenance? I demand you remove this flag. I teach algebra, ma'am. I teach advanced algebra. Is that the math they study in college?
The statue is not. Get it down.
I am Lauren Boebert, and I demand you remove this flag from this private property that's not mine. At this point, you just gotta leave. I mean, at this point, you just gotta leave. I mean, you tried to get some good content for social media, and it went poorly. Hey, it happens. Just ask Nicki Minaj. It just warms my heart to see kids just civically engaged like this. I mean, they basically ready for the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
That folks think what's going on in Congress is political theater. That's not true. If Congress were theater, they'd have thrown out Lauren Boebert a long time ago.
Do you have anything to say for yourself?
But I will not vote for an unconstitutional resolution that tramples our First Amendment and failed to go through any regular vetting process or regular order in committee that legislation should be held to. Our right to our freedom of speech applies to everyone. Inciting violence does not. I will not violate my constitutional principles for a bill that remains too vague to have any positive impact.
Oh my gosh! So what just happened? Did I just agree with Lauren Boebert? Did that just happen? I'm gonna have to do a whole nother video about this act, by the way. That one is coming soon. Anything else?
We have a slim majority in the House, and everything's being passed overwhelmingly with Democrat support. So it makes no difference to me if it's Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker or Mike Johnson right now.
Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, you know, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes.
Out here sounding like me lying to my mama at 7 years old. Are those cookies under your bed? I'm glad you brought that to my attention. Hi, welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Thank you for joining me, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. It all started as an uproar over a dog named Cricket.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem released a new book. The Guardian got its hands on a copy, and the outlet is flagging a section in which she describes killing her dog named Cricket.
I did a whole video about that. The link is in the bio. But what started as an uproar over a dog named Cricket is now ballooned into a full-fledged career killer for Kristi Noem.
I have 4 rescues, and I have a puppy. I got to tell you, what she's done is she's sabotaged herself, whether or not it was to, buttress what was coming down the road. But she also managed to unite the right and the left, because America, if nothing else, we are dog lovers. And don't tell me you shot a pup because it wasn't used to hunting. Maybe you're not a good teacher.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a problem. And this whole thing with the chickens, were the chickens dead? Was your dog on their property? Should you have had your dog on a leash? Should your farm have been fenced? I could go on and on because I love dogs.
I mean, when you lose Jeanine Pirro, it is over. She wakes up every day with the express purpose to say things that make you think she was a judge.
Don't you ever accuse me. Wait a minute. I listen to you. You listen to me. Sitting on your butt with your friends pontificating. Pervert. I'm talking to you. Who has a drug problem, an alcohol problem? Just the other day, the president talked or was hoping. Who likes to drive drunk?
And even she wasn't on board. Now, most people would have said, you know what, that's it. I'm just going to go and retire to my ranch in the Dakotas in between the chickens and the gravel pit. But South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem decided she needed to go on a press tour. And as we do, if you want more, we'll give you more.
So you write about lessons learned in leadership, and you bring up some specific incidents I want to ask you about. You talk about meeting some world leaders, and one specific one, quote, "I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all." Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage, and I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world.
We didn't ask you about meeting with many, many world leaders or traveling around the world. We asked you if you met with Kim Jong-un, and that's a yes or no question.
As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days and that those edits will be in place and that people will have the updated version.
You go with "as soon as it was brought to my attention" as if we were just going to glaze past the fact that something is in your book that hadn't been brought to your attention. Is the entire book a work of fiction written by somebody else who's never actually met you? I need to know why there's a portion in your book that needed to be brought to your attention. Oh, that was slick, wasn't it? Yeah, you think you slick. Out here sounding like me lying to my mama at 7 years old. Are those cookies under your bed? I'm glad you brought that to my attention.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
I met with many, many world leaders.
That is a yes or no question. That is a yes or no question. I gotta try that sometime. It looks here like you have an 8-year break in your work history. What happened? I met with many, many world leaders. Yeah, I travel around the world. Anybody we know? It was a lot of them.
Many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that.
I mean, except you wrote a book about your experiences and have a specific passage about meeting a world leader that is in question. What the hell is you talking about?
This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that was adjusted. So the book is not released until Tuesday, and so we're doing all that we can to make sure that those changes are made.
Okay, so I think I got the game. You just put a bunch of fake stories in the book to see if it flies, and you release copies prematurely, and then whatever gets called out gets pulled out the book, and then you publish the rest. Is that it?
And I'm going to continue to focus on what this book is and the blueprint that it lays out for the American citizen, on all of the things in the background and stories of my life, but also what I think that needs to be identified in politics and what's broken today. I talk about how broken the money game is.
Oh, you mean something like the estate tax story you built your career on?
How broken it is that we've got consultants that are getting rich off of elected officials, and then how fake some elected politicians are.
I'm sorry. Did you just say how fake some elected officials are?
Every single person in this country wants someone in elected office that's a human being, that doesn't say they're perfect. I take responsibility for that being in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I asked for it to be changed. So I'm glad that the release date is in a couple of days, and we're excited to talk to America about my new book, No Going Back.
That was bad. That was bad. You know what? Maybe she needs another shot. You know what? Maybe her earpiece was messed up and she couldn't hear the repeated, pointed, and specific questions that she refused to answer. You know what? Why don't she go ahead and get a do-over?
Talk first, but we don't want to talk about a lot of the topics that you address in the book. But the book is called No Going Back, but it sounds like the publisher, Center Street, is going back on a couple of the details.
Well done. Well done. That girl good. Yeah, that girl good.
Person. Let's talk first, but we don't want to talk about a lot of the topics that you address in the book. But the book is called No Going Back, but it sounds like the publisher, Center Street, is going back on a couple of the details in the book.
Oh, I don't believe so.
Specifically, when you write in the book, I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me. That, as I understand, is now being removed from the book at your request.
Yes, when I became aware of that, we changed the content, and the future editions will be adjusted. And, I appreciate that. I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I should not have put that anecdote in the book, and at my request, they have removed it.
If you were just running down a laundry list of the people that you've met and the places that you've been, and you threw in Kim Jong-un and North Korea, maybe I might give you, you know what, you traveled a lot, you met a bunch of people, and you may have thought you met them and you didn't when you were trying to remember these things. Except you said you stared him down like a little tyrant, and maybe he had underestimated you. You tried to cut a whole promo on a North Korean dictator when you ain't even met the dude. No, you don't get, I've traveled around the world and seen a lot of people. What, you think this is all the places you'll go?
That specific meeting didn't happen?
I'm saying that I'm not talking about that meeting. I'm not talking about my meetings with world leaders.
But you
there's
do
some
talk
that are
about
in the
meetings
book.
with world leaders.
There's some that are in the book, and then there's some that's not in the book.
Who raised y'all? I just need to know who raised y'all. I don't, for the life of me, understand how you go with, I've met with many different leaders and I'm not at liberty to discuss my meetings with certain leaders, when you're asked about a specific leader that you talked about meeting that you're now having to remove from your book. I need to know who told you that was a suitable answer to that question. When did they do this?
Many
but why
of them,
are there
actually,
two specific mentions of meeting Kim Jong-un and talking about him, and a specific memory? I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Did you tell your ghostwriter to write that?
I specifically have worked on policy for over 30 years. And over that time, I have traveled around the world, and I have met with leaders around the world. And that anecdote, I've asked them to change the content, and it will be removed.
It's a simple question. Did you or did you not meet with Kim Jong-un?
That's the answer that I have for you, is that it will be adjusted.
Now, mind you, there's also pushback about a Nikki Haley anecdote where she got the year wrong, and she says she was threatened by Nikki Haley, but Nikki Haley's camp says that, no, we reach out to lots of people. We have no idea what the hell she's talking about. Now, here's the thing about lying. When you sit there and tell me that I'm not at liberty to discuss my meetings with world leaders, I've traveled the world and met lots of people, and that's your response to being asked about meeting Kim Jong-un, and you're removing it from the book, I'll believe anybody else over you at this point. Like, I literally will believe if somebody came and told me that they were the real governor of South Dakota, I would have to believe them, because your credibility is negative. This couldn't possibly get any worse.
You talk multiple times about it. In fact, at the end of the book, you say the very first thing you would do if you got to the White House that was different from Joe Biden is you'd make sure Joe Biden's dog was nowhere on the grounds. Commander, say hello to Cricket. Are you doing this to try to look tough? Do you still think that you have a shot at being a VP?
First of all, I have no idea what she's being paid, but give her a raise.
Are you doing this to try to look tough? Do you still think that you have a shot at being a VP?
That was phenomenal. More questions need to be asked, followed by, did you do this because you thought it made you look tough? That is well done. That is well done. And then double down that with, do you think you still got a shot? Hell yeah.
Are you doing this to try to look tough? Do you still think that you have a shot at being a VP?
Well, number one, Joe Biden's dog has attacked 24 Secret Service people. So how many people is enough people to be attacked and dangerously hurt before you make a decision on a dog and what to do with it?
Well, he's not living at the White House
That's a question that the president should be held accountable to.
You're saying he should be shot?
That's what the president should be accountable to, is what is the number? And I would say about Republicans criticizing me, these are the same Republicans that criticized me during COVID.
Oh, you mean the COVID that you mismanaged to the point of having one of our worst mortality rates despite having less than 1 million people spread out over our 17th largest state? That COVID?
They've criticized me when I've made other decisions in South Dakota to protect my state. And my state today is extremely happy.
I know why they're happy. I know why they're happy. Because they just found out that they could ban her from portions of the state. That's why they're happy.
So you're not going to retract the book?
And to prevent China.
Governor?
This book is a powerful book. It's an honest book.
And I will give her that. It is, in fact, an honest book. It is a book that honestly shows you the entire ass of MAGA and specifically Kristi Noem.
What
but if you have
bothers
to
me the most
retract
about
it
politicians
or
is when they're
parts
fake.
of it.
I'm not retracting anything.
Okay.
I'm not retracting anything.
All right.
No.
All right, Governor.
Absolutely. This book.
Thank you.
No, I'm not retracting anything. Just the parts of the book that y'all know I lied about. Y'all don't know there's way more in there. Y'all could have made me retract. And if you're wondering how this came to be, how somebody came to be like this, where they're talking about shooting a dog in the face and making up stories that they're having to pull from the book and claim that it's an honest book. Who acts like this?
But I also think it's a case study in where my former political party is. Look, I served with Kristi Noem. She wasn't this way 8, 9, 10 years ago. Every one of my former Republican colleagues, Jessica, has learned to be like Trump, to be cruel, to lie, to never, ever apologize, to never back down. She's trying to be like Trump.
And to think, this was all to please Donald Trump. All that work you did to please Donald Trump. Guess you're going to have to try again next time. Your career is in the gravel pit.
Her family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean because it had not been castrated.
Was the goat supposed to castrate himself? Did you give the goat some money to go into town and get his castration done, and then he stole the money? He just blew it on carrot wine. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem's journey to being Trump's VP pick hit a puppy-sized speed bump last week when, well, I'll let them tell it.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem released a new book. The Guardian got its hands on a copy, and the outlet is flagging a section in which she describes killing her dog named Cricket. All right, so it begins here. Cricket was a wire hair pointer, about 14 months old, she says, adding that the dog, a female, had a aggressive personality and needed to be trained to be used for hunting pheasants.
She includes her story about the ill-fated Cricket, she says, to illustrate her willingness in politics as well as in South Dakota life to do anything, quote, difficult, messy, and ugly, end quote, if it simply needs to be done.
Now, wait a minute. I'm confused because you said that she had a naturally aggressive personality, but you're trying to prove that you're willing to do anything ugly and messy and whatever has to be done. Y'all sound like two peas in a pod.
By taking Cricket on a pheasant hunt with older dogs, Noem says she hoped to calm the young dog down and begin to teach her how to behave.
She's just a puppy. All right, unfortunately, Cricket ruined the hunt, she said, going, quote, out of her mind with excitement, chasing all the birds and having the time of her life.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you went to hunt pheasants, and Cricket is being a problem because you're chasing birds.
Noem describes calling Cricket, then using an electronic collar to attempt to bring her under control. Nothing worked. Then, on the way home after the hunt, as Noem stopped to talk to a local family, Cricket escaped Noem's truck and attacked the family's chickens.
So, quote, grabbing one chicken at a time, crunching it to death with one bite, then dropping it to attack another.
Well, it sounds like Cricket is willing to do anything ugly or messy and whatever has to be done. I mean, she should probably get some votes in the South Dakota gubernatorial election.
Cricket, the untrainable dog, Noem writes, behaved like a, quote, trained assassin.
Did you just say the untrainable dog for hunting operated like a trained assassin?
Cricket, the untrainable dog, Noem writes, behaved like a, quote, trained assassin.
What level did you complete in school?
When Noem finally grabbed Cricket, she says the dog, quote, whipped around to bite me. Then, as the chicken's owner wept, Noem repeatedly apologized, wrote the shocked family a check, quote, for the price they asked, and helped them dispose of the carcasses littering the scene of the crime.
Gotta love the scene of the crime. Now, I have to ask you, does Cricket understand what pheasants are? Because if you're trying to train her to hunt pheasants and she just went ham chasing birds, which I believe pheasants are a bird, but then went ham on the chickens, sounds like she just misunderstood what pheasants meant. And that ain't a Cricket problem, that's a you problem, because we already established your command of the English language is limited.
Okay, through it all, Noem says Cricket was, quote, the picture of pure joy.
And that's when you knew you had to take Cricket out. Ain't gonna be no pure joy around me. Ain't gonna be no pure joy around me. Ain't nothing happy around me. Not my family, certainly not my spouse. I'll get to that one. And certainly not my constituents. If I see pure joy, I'm getting a gun.
I hated that dog, Noem writes, adding that Cricket had proved herself, quote, untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact with, and less than worthless as a hunting dog.
So at that moment, Noem says, I realized I had to put her down. Noem, who also represented her state in Congress for 8 years, got her gun, then led Cricket to a gravel pit. It was not a pleasant job, she writes, but it had to be done. And after it was over, I realized another unpleasant job needed to be done. Incredibly, Noem's tale of slaughter is not finished.
What you mean it's not finished?
Her family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean.
Oh, now you're just a serial killer on the loose. I have watched enough court TV and ID to know what happens when a serial gets the first taste of blood. You ain't fooling me, Kristi Noem. You just went off on a spree.
Her family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean because it had not been castrated.
Naturally.
Furthermore, as one knows.
Now here I have to ask you, whose fault was it that the goat, because you're blaming the goat's personality that it hadn't been castrated, was the goat supposed to castrate himself? Was Did you give the goat some money to go into town and get his castration done, and then he stole the money? He just blew it on carrot wine, and came back fully intact. Is that what happened? Or did you not castrate the goat? The thing that you are blaming for his behavior. This is somebody really appearing on TV regularly?
The goat smelled disgusting, musky, rancid, and loved to chase Noam's children, knocking them down and ruining their clothes.
Noam decided to kill the unnamed goat the same way she had just killed Cricket the dog. But though she dragged him to a gravel pit, the goat jumped as she shot and therefore survived the wound. Noam says she went back to her truck, retrieved another shell, and hurried back to the gravel pit and put him down. At that point, Noam writes, she realized the construction crew had watched her kill both animals. The startled worker swiftly got back to work, she writes, only for a school bus to arrive and drop off Noam's children.
So you mean to tell me you also terrified witnesses in the process of your spree? You got terrified construction workers and children on scene, and this was what you just had to put in your memoir?
Kennedy looked around confused. Noam writes of her daughter, who asked, "Hey, where's Cricket?" This is not a joke. If you are thinking this is not true, Noam has now defended the scenes in the statements that she made in her own book, saying she loves animals, but tough decisions happen all the time on a farm. In fact, she says they recently put down 3 horses.
Now, as you can probably guess, when this hit the timeline, she was in the doghouse. In fact, so many people tweeted, "I can't believe I agree with Cat Turd," that Cat Turd was trending. But it went further with people saying this is the end of her chance to be Trump's VP pick. Even Ron DeSantis saw fit to dance on her gravel pit. And to that I say, this? So this is what did it. So it was totally fine when she went on CNN and...
The law in your state is similar. It's an abortion ban, including areas where a woman is raped or in times of incest. So do you believe that the law in your state goes too far, just as he said about Arizona? Are you with him on that, or do you think that he's wrong?
You know, it's interesting because the law in my state was passed decades before I ever became governor. It was a trigger law that said when Roe v. Wade became overturned, that this would be the law that would go into place. So that may be a topic that will continue to be discussed in South Dakota. Our law today allows an exception to save the life of the mother, but the people in South Dakota will decide what their laws look like.
What do you think it should look like?
I can have an opinion, and I can weigh forward, and I can look at the science and what we've learned about babies in the womb, and to believe that we should protect life. But I think that our law today is what South Dakota wants, and they'll continue to have that debate, and I'll continue to follow through in my role, which is to make sure the will of the people is enforced.
Do you think there should be exceptions for rape and incest, for example?
And I think that every state's going to look different. That's what's different, Dana, is that I've constantly looked, and we rely in South Dakota on the fact that I'm pro-life, and we have a law that says that there is an exception for the life of the mother. And I just don't believe a tragedy should perpetuate another tragedy.
Tragedy. She called rape a tragedy, like somebody just fell into a hole or got struck by rape. That was fine, but this is the thing, the dog. Like, it wasn't a red flag that she didn't know the state of New York operated an independent legal system just like the one in South Dakota that allows her to wander around shooting dogs.
Because Donald Trump himself acknowledged in 2018 that he authorized payments to Stormy Daniels and reimbursed Michael Cohen. We actually have the reimbursement checks to Cohen signed by Donald Trump. So those are the facts. Are you comfortable with this?
Michael Cohen worked for President Trump. President Trump paid his legal fees. He paid his Michael Cohen legal fees and bills, and that's what this trial will bring forward, hopefully, is the truth. What a ridiculous case that this is, and that it's based on the narrative today that is coming from a man who is proven to be a liar. So I'm hoping that this judge makes the right decision. I'm hoping these jurors can come in and be unbiased, and we'll let this case go forward in a swift manner that allows President Trump to get back on the campaign trail. Americans deserve to hear from their candidates, and the Democrats and the activists are using this trial to derail him, to keep him in court instead of out talking to Americans about what their real concerns are. And their real concerns are their everyday lives. They need a leader in the White House who gets up every day and puts them first and doesn't raise their taxes, doesn't overregulate them, take away their freedoms, and give all our money to other countries instead of making sure that we're taking care of America first and keeping us safe and secure.
I just want to say for the record, there's absolutely no evidence that President Biden is involved in this. This is a case that is being brought in the state of New York.
It wasn't a problem that she allegedly had an affair with Corey Lewandowski. In fact, so many people posted about that Lewandowski was trending. And it wasn't for this. Of course, an affair in itself isn't a deal breaker. Am I right, Trump? And Boebert. And Marjorie Taylor Greene. But Corey Lewandowski, the married father of 4 who was fired for allegedly grabbing a female reporter. By the way, this took me down a rumor rabbit hole, and apparently Cocksure Corey was getting it in. First it was Hope Hicks and then Noam, but then she supposedly dumped him after he propositioned a rich donor's wife, and Noam went back to her husband, and Hicks moved on to Rob Porter, who resigned over allegations he abused his 2 ex-wives, and then Brad Parscale, who you might remember being arrested.
Get on the ground, man. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground, man. Easy. Get on the ground. What do you say?
And then committed by Florida police after his wife, yes, his wife, called them. Hope Hicks got worse taste in men than the Detroit Pistons. She got worse taste in men than all the Kardashians put together. Now, I know what Marjorie Taylor Greene's wig holder meant when he said that liberal women were ugly.
Liberal women tend to be some of the ugliest women I've ever seen. And I'm serious. I mean, zero makeup.
Well,
they take no pride in their. Well, they want to be men. They take no pride in their dress, their attire, their makeup, their haircut. Half of them look like men. Hairy armpits, hairy legs. Come on, that is not embracing what it means to be a woman.
Yeah, standards can feel ugly when you can't reach them. Link to that video is in the bio, by the way. None of this was a problem, but the dogs is the thing. Not that she's facing a new lawsuit from consumer advocacy group Travelers United accusing Noam of doing an undisclosed advertisement for Smile, Texas.
Well, hi, I'm Christine Noam. I'm the governor of South Dakota and had the opportunity to come to Smile, Texas to fix my teeth, which has been absolutely amazing.
Or promoting a business owned by the son of the Secretary of State Department of Public Safety on Twitter. Or when she said COVID was going to magically miss her state and turn down federal unemployment assistance, but spent $5 million on South Dakota travel ads. And then South Dakota had one of the worst 10 death rates in the country, despite having less than 1 million people spread out over our 17th largest state. Or the fact that she built her career on the hardship her family faced because of the estate tax that hit after her father's death, and it was mostly proven to be a complete lie. Or the fact that she, the governor of South Dakota, is now banned from some parts of her state after tribes voted to legally bar her from reservation land after she made comments linking tribal leaders to drug cartels. Just think about that. She's pushing for a bigger platform when she's banned from parts of her own. That's like the AARP banning Ron DeSantis, or black people banning Ron DeSantis. Actually, both probably should look into that. Can we do that? Can we do that? None of that was a problem, but the dogs, that's the thing. Well, looks like that won't be a problem either. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Now, as I have very well documented, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has ascended to prominence, and I mean front seat in the Democratic Party.
And let me tell you why nobody wants to talk to y'all behind closed doors, because y'all lie. That's just the bottom line. You have done it thus far in this investigation. You have done it this far as it relates to this committee. In every single hearing, y'all spin. I don't know how y'all are still standing right now, because you should be quite dizzy from all the spinning that you're constantly doing when it comes to spinning the truth.
And with good reason. She tells it like it is, and she quite frankly expresses from the House exactly what I'm expressing and thinking from my house.
It was hitting me a little differently as a Black woman sitting here, because it almost seemed as if you either get diversity or you get qualifications. It did not seem as if my colleague understood that someone can be diverse and qualified. And it is why you have people like me that get very frustrated, not just in the halls of Congress, but in general in this country. Because as I'm sitting here, and there seemed to be this question of you're either diverse or you're qualified, all I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol, and I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my Blackness makes me unqualified. Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
She most recently took to The View to give a little bit more insight into her perspective.
Which was the point of you calling that out, though, because that was the rule in that room, that they should have stopped her.
Correct. So the thing was, Comer was given an opportunity to decide how he was going to conduct hearings going forward.
Right.
The reality is that there can be a complete devolution of this process, or you can get it under control. Unfortunately, there has been this situation with Marjorie where she is a bully, and no one ever responds. And so the idea was she would just get away with it again. And for me, she basically just mimics Trump. And because she mimics Trump, she is one of their top fundraisers, period.
Okay, listen to what Jasmine Crockett is saying. She just asserted you set the rules of engagement. We came in with an understanding of certain rules of engagement, and you have changed those rules of engagement by virtue of your lack of oversight and lack of checking of Marjorie Taylor Greene, amongst others, quite frankly. So now that the rules of engagement have changed, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. In other words, is this the smoke you want?
There has been this situation with Marjorie where she is a bully, and no one ever responds. And so the idea was she would just get away with it again. And for me, she basically just mimics Trump.
And we see something we've heard before, which is the sycophants in the Freedom Caucus and the MAGA crowd mimicking Trump. We've seen it with Kristi Noem caught out in 4K with assertions about Kim Jong-un just outright refusing to admit that it wasn't true. Caught in 4K. She still refused to admit it wasn't true, supposedly a book that she wrote. That is downright Trumpian. Here you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is legislating by virtue of her Twitter account, and knowing that the more outrageous she acts, the more outrageous she behaves, the more attention she gets, and the more money she's able to raise, which is another thing to keep in mind. The fundraising. We've seen that time after time after time after time. For goodness sakes, Lauren Boebert is fundraising off of Beetlejuice. For goodness sake, she just fundraised off of getting everybody to turn their back on her when she showed up at Trump's trial for a PR stunt, something I documented right here on this very own channel. There is nothing so outrageous that they won't find a way to try and make some money off it. So if that's what we're doing, well, that's what we're doing.
And because she mimics Trump, she is one of their top fundraisers. Of course. Period. She is the 5th highest fundraising member of the Republican Party, behind those in leadership, because she is rewarded for her antics.
The mindset that it takes to give, not because of good policy, not because they want to support somebody and the hard work they're undertaking in order to make America a great place, but because they acted so extravagantly that they own the libs. That's the kind of thing that's getting people to take money out of their wallets, out of their pockets. The same people that will fix their fingers to call Jasmine Crockett a DEI representative will give money to Marjorie Taylor Greene, whose qualifications involve chin-ups. And that thing with the chef.
Yeah. These are people that not only were saying on January 6th, let's literally physically tear down the institution, but we have people that are tearing our institution apart from within. And that is a problem. And see, the thing is, it's not about partisanship at all.
There you have a very key point. When you have these knuckleheads that showed up on the mall, able to actually infiltrate Congress thanks to their gerrymandered districts, they are able to enact the same plan and engage in the same behaviors from inside our government. And tell me that Marjorie Taylor Greene and her behavior wouldn't have been right at home on the lawn on January 6th.
I will work with anybody that wants to make this a better country, and we don't have to agree on everything. But where we can find common ground, let's get to work and stop doing this ridiculousness.
That is an interesting thought. We don't have to agree on everything, but let's get to work to try and make America a great place. That is an interesting approach to legislating, because I wonder what would be the approach on the opposite side of the aisle towards somebody who you disagree with.
Just we're the nicey nice guys, and we want to be friends with all the Democrats, and we want to be able to, hey guys, we'll give you this one and you give us that one, and we'll pass your bill if you pass our bill, and then we'll all go and have drinks together later on. And that is not where we are in this country. Not at all, and the American people know it, and that's why they're so angry and so upset. So that was my one and only time listening to Frank Luntz, and I thought, I don't think I'll ever do one of these sessions again.
So you have fundraised off of merchandise around this, and you've gotten some pushback from people saying, you know, are we just lowering the institution if we're both kind of playing into this? How do you respond to that?
Kind of like the audience just did. Listen, here's the deal. There are people such as Trump that want to peddle Bibles, peddle gym shoes, peddle whatever it is, in anything that he can sell, he's going to sell it. And he's not doing it for his party. He's doing it for self. So what she meant for evil, in my opinion, God meant for good. And so that's what I was going to do in that moment.
Now I'll be dead real with you. It is lowering the office. It is lowering. Ain't no way around it. Ain't no way around it. But it's not so much as lowering the office as joining the office where it currently sits. Because as she has already outlined, office been lowered. Office has been lowered. And for far too long, the Democrats have been ignoring that fact and acting like they're operating within this system from decades ago that is still as esteemed and respected as it was before it was darkened by MAGA. This is a very famous restaurant. In fact, a lot of former presidents used to eat here. Oh yeah? What you got to say about the 3 rat notices sitting in the window, huh? You gonna go off how it used to be decades ago, or the fact that they just got shut down Saturday?
When I set out to do the trademark, that is not personally done. It's done under the campaign. It was because there was a demand. I'm a business major who also is a lawyer. So the two things came together, right? Yeah. So this is about making sure that we can raise the monies. It's so that I can help save our democracy. My money goes to frontliners, people that are in fights to make sure that we can take the House. We've seen that the House has been run like a circus. We need Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House. And so if they lose the House, I'm gonna just go ahead and blame it on Marjorie.
And as will I, for all the work that Marjorie Taylor Greene has put into destroying the GOP's functionality. That is why she is the secret agent, Capitol Hill Karen. She even had a few words for Bob Costello in his testimony in Trump's hush money trial.
They had Costello on the stand, and Costello had just come before my weaponization committee, and I didn't like him then. And so he was like the last person that they pulled together to testify. He was the guy that was trying to say that he was Michael Cohen's attorney. Right. And basically, they got into this back and forth trying to prove that he was really his lawyer and this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, where's the retainer agreement? Everybody knows there has to be a retainer. And then,
we don't work for free.
Right. And who brought out the retainer agreement? The state. Yeah. And so the prosecutor was like, here it is. Ain't nobody signed it, though. I'm like, boy, like, why did y'all put this boy on? Yeah. I mean, literally, like, it was just like, okay, so y'all are really bad. But, like, what good attorney is going to go work for Trump at this point? Not anybody that wants to.
He doesn't pay people.
He doesn't pay, and you lose your license and or go to prison.
Oh, you lose your license and go to prison for free. That is a different kind of pro bono. That is a pro boned. That's what I call that. She did kind of hurt my heart though when she asked why did they put this boy on, because it reminds me of a number of my stand-up performances, especially during my early years. In fact, it was said exactly in that voice. Was it Jasmine Crockett booing me?
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
I see you, Jamie Raskin. Don't laugh. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Okay, so by now, y'all are probably familiar with Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
Then we have to evaluate someone's credibility. And sir, I definitely have always had issues with your credibility, as I know that you are very well aware of. So let me remind you of what happened behind closed doors.
Well, you should ask her O'Connor about my credibility.
I haven't asked you a question. Okay?
You are?
When I haven't. So when I ask you a question, that's when you answer. Otherwise, I'm talking. My Republican colleagues want to talk about keeping DC streets crime-free. They can't even keep the halls of Congress crime-free, because we gonna talk about this, because I got 24 seconds. My freshman colleague has just been indicted on 13 counts, 13 felony counts, right? But have they exhibited any courage to say, you know what, we will disallow this in our body? I can't get over the gentle lady from South Carolina talking about white privilege. It was a spit in the face, at least of mine as a black woman, for you to talk about what white privilege looks like, especially from that side of the aisle. And let me quote your now ousted speaker and what he had to say about the Republican Party and y'all's lack of diversity.
And if not, y'all gonna learn.
She's gonna learn.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, AKA Capitol Hill Karen, saw fit to come for Jasmine Crockett last night in a midnight hearing of the House Oversight Committee.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What?
Now let's start with the facts. Marjorie Taylor Greene is making a mockery of herself, which is something that's become quite common at this point, which is why she can't get anybody to even sit next to her in the Oversight Committee. She is making a mockery of herself at the outset of this particular clip. That's what got us here.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
your
please
screen.
regain
That's
order
beneath
of your
you.
committee?
Order.
Okay, so just so we're clear, Marjorie Taylor Greene out here making a mockery of a midnight meeting of the Oversight Committee decides to come for Jasmine Crockett. Now, one of the oldest adages that we popularize here in this country is don't mess with Texas. She has decided to mess with a woman from Texas, a woman who's known for her savagery on the House floor, and a black woman in public at that. How's that gonna go for you? How did you think this was gonna go for you? You coming for a black woman from Texas in public. Look, if I'm coming for a black woman in public and some sort of verbal altercation, I plan that for weeks. Okay, this is chess, not checkers. I plan that for weeks. You don't just go in willy-nilly as Marjorie Taylor Greene, because it's gonna go, well, you'll see.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
your
please
screen.
regain
That's beneath
order
even
of your
you.
committee?
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings
Move her
hurt?
words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play. with
Baby
me.
girl? I don't think
we are gonna move.
I'm gonna have to side with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this particular one. Ain't nothing baby girl about Capitol Hill Karen. Ain't nothing baby girl about Capitol Hill Karen. But I do see you, AOC. I do see you when you get so mad that you can't even express yourself with the knowledge that whatever happens is going to be blamed on you because of your brownness. We'll get to that.
And we're gonna take your words down.
I second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Okay. Ms. Greene agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
needs to apologize.
recognizes
No.
Mr.
She
Perry.
needs to apologize.
Okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Greene
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
No, let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
think
minority.
it's pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not.
of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like to strike those words as well.
All right, so that is the second salvo. That is the second attack that we have heard from Capitol Hill Karen. Now, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? What do we always say when we watch video of people letting their hands go? Who threw first? Here we have Marjorie Taylor Greene not only throwing first, but throwing second. And once that happens,
I would like
Ladies'
as well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's
control.
the correct apology. Ms. Greene, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection.
Not apologizing.
21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
now you know the person who is the most dangerous in just about any scenario is the quiet one, right? It's the quiet one that you got to worry about. The fact that Jasmine Crockett done sat here quiet this entire time just means she was back there building up armaments because she's ready to go to war.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
She gave you 6 B words without the B word. That is some savage alliteration. That is well done.
If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
That is what you call skillful destruction. That is what you call that.
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold
a
on.
I'm trying to find clarification on what qualifies.
Chairman, motion to strike those
I had no idea
words.
what you just said.
Don't think I ain't see your face, Jamie Raskin. So don't think I ain't see your face, Jamie Raskin.
What qualifies?
Chairman, motion to strike those
I had no idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys, earlier, literally just.
You just voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you don't want to talk about
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at, calm down. Calm
No,
down.
because this
I
is
would
what
like
y'all
to get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying to get
Miss
clarification.
Crockett, you're not
Y'all wanna
recognized.
play
Miss
games.
Crockett.
I can't hear you with your
And
yelling.
You don't want
calm
me to
down.
Be, no,
Can you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
Mr.
Order.
Chairman.
All right,
Sorry.
Chair.
I don't know why
Okay.
you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes.
Y'all heard that? Huh? Y'all heard and y'all saw that. Okay, so Marjorie Taylor Greene comes for Jasmine Crockett, then goes for AOC, but on the clapback, now we need to calm down. Now we need to calm down. Now you understand how Karen behavior persists. This is it. You cause the issue, then you play the victim. Now you play the victim because of the consequences of your actions. You decided you were going to come for Jasmine Crockett. I don't know what that was about. Maybe that was some sort of prison rules, like you just punch the biggest person you see and hope it gains you some respect. Except when it comes to prison rules, there's guards that prevent them from responding. She can just respond. That was a poor choice. That was an extremely poor choice. And now you cannot deal with the consequences of your actions, but now Jasmine Crockett needs to calm down. America.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's all it is.
She's not used
She
to
doesn't
people
wanna
talking
say-
back to
She
her.
doesn't want to say sorry to nobody for nothing. She's going to learn.
Oh, she learned all right. In fact, Jasmine Crockett wasn't even through pulling Marjorie Taylor Greene's wig from Hobby Lobby. Here is Jasmine Crockett's tweet, and in it, she outlines a few things. One, that Marjorie Taylor Greene is what took us outside the realms of decorum when it comes to House committee meetings. So if we're gonna live there, we're gonna live there. She refused to apologize, so she decided that's where she wanted to live. She decided to jump off the porch and she could get knocked back through the window. That's how that goes. Then she hit us with people in glass houses, which is a part that we must address here as well, because as a representative of bad-built America, we don't do that. We don't do that, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, bad-built America cannot go on the offensive, because where do you think that goes? You draw attention not only to yourself, you draw attention to all of us bad-builts. And who do you think suffers as a result of that? Bad-built America. You and me. We all suffer. If we want to get to the point that Martin Luther King outlined in his I Have a Dream speech, where we are judged by the content of our character and not the bad built of our bodies, okay? If we want to be judged by the content of our character, how does this help? How does this help? Okay? All of a sudden, she can talk about how bad built you are because you opened the door and talking about her eyelashes. What is wrong with you? Hopefully, your comeuppance will be a lesson to all of America. Oh, hell no. So let me get this straight. Jasmine Crockett defending herself at work from being attacked for her physical appearance is the ghetto one. She is the ghetto one, not Marjorie Taylor Greene, who started this. And by the way, she didn't start it talking about her work behavior. She didn't start it talking about her district. She started talking about her eyelashes. Tell me you racist without telling me you racist.
That's racist!
Now, I must ask, why were y'all working so late anyway? Yes, this happened at damn near midnight. For what? Don't nothing good happen that late at night?
Seemingly, this type of attitude and position has come straight from the top. This idea of lacking all decorum, decency, has left the building when the stench of Donald Trump showed up. And so we've seen constantly from him how he mocks people. We've seen in this committee how different members want to mock other members, and that's all this is about. But what is so frustrating to me, and what should be frustrating to the American people, and the reason that really all y'all should lose y'all's jobs, but why we are going to take the majority is simple. It's because we showed up ready to work earlier today, like we always do. And now it is currently 10 p.m., and we are still here because we are committed to doing the right thing. And my question is really simple. It's a matter of, if this was such a big deal, if it was a matter of an emergency, if this was so important as it relates to whether or not the President of the United States has done something so wrong, then why is it that we couldn't have our hearing at 11 o'clock this morning instead of members being in a criminal courthouse with a twice impeached, over 88 count indicted sexual abuser, instead of being here to do the work of the American people if this was serious?
Now, our originally scheduled performance was supposed to be at 11 a.m. today, but it was postponed when members of the majority chose to join a mass spiritual pilgrimage to the New York criminal trial of a Florida man.
First of all, extremely nice work, Jamie Raskin, calling him a Florida man, but You mean to tell me that everybody is up here late because y'all decided y'all wanted to go and make a PR appearance at court? Everybody had to stay late because y'all decided y'all wanted to go show up and make a PR appearance at court, and help Trump violate his gag order. Look, if you're the reason everybody had to stay late, you don't need to be making no noise. No, you don't need to draw attention to yourself at all. You should just be slinking in quiet and saying absolutely nothing. That's exactly what you see what Lauren Boebert did. You see she just sitting there and eating her food. Yeah, that is how you need to conduct yourself when you are the reason that everybody is there late, because you are one slip up from somebody taking your head off, and you actually managed to go on the offensive. Then again, maybe I see why you were so mad, because you weren't invited. Now, were you? These were your people who went on that PR stunt and didn't invite you. Man, that's tough. Well, you're going to have to get used to that. Take it up with your girl, Bobo. She was there, but that's why she sat there quiet the whole time. Well, she was quiet for a little while. She took some time out to try and sell her new play.
That's delivered to my office. I'm titling it Boebert Off Broadway.
Oh, you best believe we're going to talk about that.
Y'all were real nice a second ago. Listen, Clarence Thomas is corrupt. End of story.
The way he puts it as originalism, that only laws that are rooted in, quote, history and tradition, meaning the social views of property-owning white men.
Y'all want to see a dead body? Y'all want to see a dead body? Fight back, Clarence. I'm just playing. Run him over. Hi, welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, while Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was asleep in the guest house of his latest right-wing benefactor before he plays surrogate Happy Father's Day for avowed racist Crystal Clinton, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett came for his robe.
Y'all were real nice a second ago. Listen, Clarence Thomas is corrupt. End of story. I mean, nobody gets this kind of money and isn't influenced in any way. That is where we stand, and that is why the American public is outraged at this court right now because of the likes of Clarence Thomas, and I absolutely believe that there is going to be a reckoning on November 5th.
Did she lie? Did she lie? Somebody find me the lie. Somebody find me the lie. I have talked about this in so many videos. By the way, the links to all those are in the description. I just have to keep updating the specific tenor of whatever new information of impropriety that we receive. And since Clarence Thomas is so big on precedent, why don't we talk about our founding fathers who made it their point to try and keep the money out of politics because they understood that politics would corrupt just about anybody. And given that he is receiving the amount that he has received over the years, I guess you could say at least he's doing a good job by the people that have hired him, because I guess he would be a worse person if he took the money and didn't do the things that they were asking him to do. By the way, I have a new Clarence Thomas clip, which is on the way. About all of the clerks and the web that he has left underneath him, so that even if we saw fit to remove Clarence Thomas, the stink isn't all the way gone. And we know about stains and stinks that have a hard time getting out. It is something I have learned as a parent. It is something I've learned as a parent. But the issue now is that the grift got a little bit too grifty, because it's become so obvious that now the voters have gotten involved.
I don't think it's my voice that they actually will pay any attention to. I think it's going to be up to the voters. I think for the first time, voters are talking about the Supreme Court as they're considering who it is that they are going to vote for president, as well as during some of those down ballot elections. And so one reason that Democrats may actually hold on to the Senate is because of the Supreme Court and the fear that if, for some reason, Republicans are given control of the Senate, that they will actually make the Supreme Court even worse than it is. And God knows how bad that could be for us as a country if this court gets any worse. So I don't think that they're really willing to listen to me, but I absolutely believe that the people are the only ones that are going to be able to rectify this issue.
I have never, ever in my life voted on the Supreme Court. I have never voted based on the Supreme Court. How bad do you have to be as a Supreme Court to make me think, not do I want this person or this person to be president, but who can clean up this Supreme Court? It is like choosing a medication based on the ancillary effects. I have moved all the way past everything that's in big, shiny lights.
Right now, all the polls show that public trust in the court has collapsed to the lowest level ever recorded. More and more people are seeing that it's a governmental agency. These are 9 government officials. They wear robes, but they're not wizards or religious figures. They're just government officials with lifetime appointments and huge power over the rest of our lives. So I think it's entirely appropriate to have it be a big issue. The Democrats have made reproductive freedom an issue, but they have not yet really made the Supreme Court itself an issue, and I hope that's the next step.
Crockett also weighed in on the recent bump stock decision. You know, for those of us that were disturbed that the guns just weren't gunning enough. You know what I mean? They just weren't gunning enough. How out of touch you gotta be to look at society today and be like, you know what? Why don't we make these guns a little easier? More violence, more violence. That's what we need, more violence. Who is looking at the internet and saying more violence? Our Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm sure Justice Alito will come up with some other explanation as to why, even if Congress did act, why that law is unconstitutional in some way. I'm sure the Second Amendment and all of those gun manufacturers will win again. Listen, we know that this is the most ineffective and unproductive Congress in the history of Congresses. We know that nothing is getting through, and we absolutely know that when it comes down to anything that has to do with guns, they are beholden to those corporations instead of being beholden to the people that actually put them into power. And so if we don't make this a big issue, and I think that you're absolutely right, what Democrats right now are doing is we're trying to tie together all these issues, and at the center and core of these problems is the Supreme Court. So I think that it's not a matter of talking about them separately, but it's about tying in repro to the Supreme Court, tying in guns to the Supreme Court, tying in diversity, equity, and inclusion to the Supreme Court, LGBTQIA, as well as climate change. All of these issues, when we see the decimation of them, they're at the hands of this rogue court.
And if you doubt Alito's commitment to partiality, just check out that recording that he got caught out on.
I think one side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised. They really can't be compromised. So it's not like we're going to split the difference.
can't compromise with the left, huh? And you know what the wildest part about it is? How not big of a story it was. That's where we're at in 2024, that a Supreme Court justice being caught saying he can't compromise with the other side just falls by the wayside. You have met our expectations. This is exactly why I used to get frustrated in school, because I'm like, why would I get good grades when you're just going to expect me to get good grades moving forward? If I got bad grades, then that sets the bar good and low. And apparently, those of us that were made it all the way to the Supreme Court, because that's the logic that we're going with. Jasmine also went over exactly how the Republican judicial subversion system works.
Yeah, so basically, what those anti-abortion groups were looking for was a roadmap. Everyone who had ever gained a law license knew that this was a nothing burger case simply because they literally didn't have standing. The fact that a case that lacked standing made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and for those that aren't lawyers, essentially you can't sue if you haven't been harmed in some way. And that's essentially what we had, was a case that literally had people that had not been harmed, and the fact that it made it past the trial level and the appellate level and made it all the way to the Supreme Court is absolutely insane. But that's because we have these right-wingers on every single level of the courts that are absolutely committed to doing their random Christian, and it's not Christian, it's Christo-fascism movement that they're all standing in the gap for. And then they basically signal to the court, tell us how we can get a case to you and how you will rule on the merits. And so basically the court decided, listen, we're not going to rule on the merits. This never had standing, and so we'll just leave it there. But it's important for us to really focus in on the fact that y'all were real nice a second ago. Listen, Clarence Thomas is corrupt. End of story. I mean, nobody gets this kind of money and isn't influenced in any way. That is where we stand, and that is why the American public is outraged at this court right now because of the likes of Clarence Thomas. And I absolutely believe that there is going to be a reckoning on November 5th.
Y'all want to see a dead body? Y'all want to see a dead body? Fight back, Clarence. I'm just playing. Run him over. I will show you a dead body. If you think what Crockett said was bad, just listen to Michael Waldman, CEO of the Brennan Center.
Well, we give these courts the name of the Chief Justice, but right now, Clarence Thomas and his ideas, the idea of the way he puts it as originalism, that only laws that are rooted in, quote, history and tradition, meaning the social views of property-owning white men from the 1700s, can govern our country today, that has become dominant. And sometimes Roberts can muster a majority to slow down the direction of the court. But Thomas's energy to push it and push the country in unrecognizable directions is really much more significant in the long run, I think, for this court.
You know, I've said I never want to go to the hospital with foul draws on, and I also never want to appear on World Star. I'll add a third one. I never want a white man to accuse me of catering to white men. You know how bad you gotta be to have a white man call you out for catering to old white men? And the thing that he's saying is actually something that I articulated in my piece in Brown versus Board of Education. Because Clarence Thomas reflexively likes to lean on the precedent of people who saw fit to keep us in bondage. So exactly where does this stop? Just exactly where did it stop? Because we've already gutted the Voting Rights Act. We've already gone after the Civil Rights Act. We've gone after Brown versus Board of Education. Exactly where does it stop? Because if you really want to get back to the precedent, then I have some really unfortunate news about you and Jenny. Who you think you are, Byron Donalds?